Ford, a three-time 20-goal scorer, goes to the net. Right down the slot, it's Vince Dunn, and he scores. Going back to last season, Pasternak. Now it's 61 goals. In his last 83 games as his one-timer finds the back of the net. Through center and on the go. Ovechkin has it in neutral towards the empty cage. He scores again. Alex Ovechkin one closer to 800. Who's the draw? Now it's a 3-on-2 for the Stars. Liddell carries up across ice. Glenn, and they score! Glendening went to the net, redirects it. A short-handed goal makes it 4-1 Dallas. That will not make the coach happy.
What the puck is going on?
And just when we said that we thought things may be seeing a little bit of separation in the standings, things have tightened up a little bit here in the playoff race. This is what the puck is going on. March the 29th, 2023. I am Stephen Murray in the studio. Nephew Dave coming in on the hotline this afternoon. Dave, what's going on, man? Wacky night of hockey last night, huh?
Yeah, last night was wild. A lot of stuff that I did not think was going to happen happened. And, so things definitely went the opposite way a little bit. But, hey, that this time of year, those kind of things can happen. So, not shocked, but, yeah, definitely against the grain last night for sure.
Well, I mean, so we weren't too far off in some of the things that we were saying in terms of, like, some of the teams maybe not being able to live up to the moment, like Winnipeg and San Jose last night for one. We didn't say that the Panthers would, but they somewhat kind of stumbled at home themselves, right? You talk about Pittsburgh right out of the gate. They gave up 3 goals. They rallied, but then got waxed in the third period. So they kind of stumbled last night as well. Dallas had a good night. Our Kings up in Calgary had a tough time. Calgary rose to the occasion with a win there. And then you saw the Oilers impressively on the back-to-back with a big win, 7-goal output, and the highest scoring game of the night. Actually, tied for 2. We had a couple 7-4 games out there last night and a 6-5. But Vegas, loosened their grip. So that's I don't know if you could hear that there. That's funny. That's my ESPN going off in my ears. I don't think you heard that.
No.
Okay, let's see here. So as a result of last night, we'll talk about how things tightened up real quick. Carolina now, their lead over New Jersey is still 3. In fact, the Rangers with a win last night, still Rangers paying 50-1 right now. If you think they could sneak up and still steal that division with 8 games to play, and they went out, that should be a feat that's comparable for them to be able to do. So if the Rangers continue to win, which they've won 3 in a row, don't still count them out. And they're paying a huge price there. 5 points back seems like a lot, and Carolina has an extra game, but it comes down to W's and losses really at this point. And if you get a lot more W's than the other team does, and they put up some losses there, especially in regulation, then we could see some kind of flip-flop in the standings here. That being said, New Jersey is still very much alive. They need to win their games. Boston with their firm grip. Toronto plays tonight. They're pretty comfortable for the most part, you would say. So an opportunity maybe for Florida to get a win on the road. The Islanders sit on top. Yeah, Tampa Bay with that nice win. Still comfortably in their spot in the Atlantic, too. The win over Carolina, if you are unaware of last night, like we've been talking about. The Islanders, wild card team leader number 1. They can probably put the final dagger in the Capitals tonight with a win there in D.C. And then Pittsburgh holding on, a big opportunity for Florida tonight. Pittsburgh unable to get separation in the standings with their loss at Detroit. So a golden opportunity for Florida, who sits 3 points back of Pittsburgh as we go into tonight's game. So any thoughts on the standings, Dave?
No, I think, Steve, if you like the Rangers, you have to take a look at them. Like you said, It's very possible. I mean, I'm looking at Carolina with 103 points, and then there's the Rangers with 98. So I don't know. That might be something to give some consideration there.
In fact,
given the massive number they're getting.
In fact, how about this? They were 50-1. They dropped to 47-1, and now all the way down to 25-1 this afternoon.
Yeah, so lots of movement there. I think why not? If you're considering it, go ahead and give it a chance before that number gets worse. I still think that's pretty good in terms of value. So, I mean, it's doable. They need 5 points to catch them. So, really, that's, not unheard of, Steve. So, I think if you want to, take a chance there with that big number that the Rangers are going to get, because if it gets any tighter, you can, be assured that value is going to go way down, and you're going to wish you had it at that big number.
And also, I think you have to take a look at Edmonton at this point as well, paying plus 430. They just sit 3 points back from Vegas now after that win last night. Now, they do have one extra game that they've played, so they'll have Vegas and the Kings will both have extra point opportunities, and they both lead Edmonton right now. But it is, like I said, Dave, a numbers game down the stretch. And if you can just win, the other team's going to drop off likely at some point. You say that, but in this division as well, you're talking about Vegas, who's 8-2 in their last 10. The Kings 7-1-2 now in their last 10, and Edmonton 8-1-1 in their last 10. So all three teams really, really playing nice hockey here down the stretch.
Indeed. And Steve, also take a look.
Really, yeah,
I was just getting ready to say, look at the Central. There is a massive game tonight between Minnesota and Colorado.
Yeah,
I believe that is the late game of the evening. But, I mean, look at Minnesota at 7-1-2 in their last 10. And then Colorado absolutely on fire at 9-1 in their last 10. So, Steve, I don't know. That's going to be a game that I'm probably going to at least try and stay up for some of it, because that is guaranteed to probably be the best game of the night. Minnesota in Colorado to take on the Avalanche.
I think that just tells us that we're in store for a great Western Conference playoff at least. You can expect the same in the East just because of the natural rivalries and stuff like that. But the West is really setting up to be a hot playoff race. And you mentioned it with the Wild. They're still a nice price themselves, plus 280 to win that division, and they are division leaders. In fact, that is it, David. It's a first place game tonight for the Central playing out in Denver. So let's get to it. Let's look at the slate. 3 really big games. They all mean only 3 games on the slate, but they all mean something big here. And we'll start in DC at 7:30 with 2 games going off at 7:30 tonight. The Islanders are at the Capitals. Like I said, this could be the final last stand for the Capitals, if they have a stand left. Minus 120 for the Islanders. Capitals straight up flat plus 100 at home. Over under is 5.5. Something tells me to lean towards the under in this game. I don't know why, just because it's a tight playoff type of atmosphere game, especially in there in DC. And the Islanders are a physical presence. These teams definitely have a history with one another themselves. I'll think an under. I'm not going to be comfortable enough to play it, though. But I don't know, Nephew Dave. What do you think?
Yeah, Steve. So for this one, I have a play that I haven't fired on yet, but I've got it queued up and waiting on a ticket. I'm going to take the Capitals for over 2.5 goals tonight at home, just simply because I don't want to really worry about too much more than them just getting some points. I don't want to worry about them winning or, losing by how many ever points. Just for them to get their goal total. I mean, this game right here, this is pretty much it for the Caps right here. 7:30 p.m. puck drop, and if they lose this game, that's pretty much it. You got to imagine there's no way they make up that ground unless they just absolutely win out. And the product that they've been putting out, we've said time and time before, injuries have, played a major role this year. Plus some other things that are going on. Coach is good, but there seems to be a misfit for him, and young guys aren't getting, their turn. They're, playing this older core, and they've got guys who just aren't giving it their all right now. So the recipe for success is not really there right now. But they have to have this. This is a must-win, and if they don't, that's going to be it. So if we're going to play anything here, let's just hope that they can get to 3 goals, which the offense has been, picked up a bit since the last couple of weeks that we talked, and they had trouble getting past 2 goals. Well, they seem to kind of righted the ship in that way. It might be a little too late at this point, but Steve, let's just hope that they can score 3 and just kind of be done with it.
Yeah, you figure the Islanders need 2 or 3 wins, and they should be a lock to be in the playoffs at that point. Now that they've played 75 games, they have 85 points, which is a nice lead stretch over Florida, which is their next closest unsafe opponent, we'll say. But the Capitals are in that group of teams right behind Florida, with Buffalo and Ottawa, 77 points right ahead of the Capitals with 76. So the Capitals need to basically win out, play lots of leapfrog. In the meantime, the potential is there to play leapfrog. The teams in front of them have only won 3 games each, talking about Buffalo and Ottawa in their last 10. Florida, about 500 hockey, but losers of 4 in a row lately. So the potential is there, but the Capitals just not doing themselves any favors with 3 wins themselves. So I think this is a no play for me, but I do like your angle with the over 2.5 goals, David. Knowing that they have to have it. Caps, if you can't score me 2 goals at home, I guess I don't deserve the win anyway, as you're thinking on that, right? Soroki and Darcy tempered the goalies tonight.
So good goaltender matchup there. But, Steve, you got to think, if they can find a way to win this one, preferably in regulation, then, it changes the game. So it changes the whole outlook where they'll put themselves, kind of right back in the conversation at least. But if they lose, then you can pretty much can the rest of it.
Okay, also at 7:35 in Toronto, Ilya Samsonov is the listed goalie, but that's all we have. With the Panthers in town, with the Panthers plus 125, the Maple Leafs are at minus 150, over under 6.5 here, but the over is minus 168, so they're expecting a lot of goals. You got to be wary of Toronto. They're in that spot where they're pretty comfortable. They can't really gain too much or lose too much one way or the other. So you got to think that they're going to start to rest players, where Florida has a ton of motivation here to try to win and keep up or even gain on the standings, really, since Pittsburgh won't be playing tonight. They can gain ground on Pittsburgh, and that's really the one team that's they're focused on at this point. So Florida with a good opportunity here. I think I would take – Dave, I want to take Florida to win this game for sure. And I've even said it here in past shows where, I could see Florida kind of falling apart. Well, I just think the situation at hand with Toronto, maybe not giving as much of a care, and I could be wrong in that motive as well. But just from the outside looking in, you got to think that they got to start resting some players a little bit for the playoffs. They're pretty much locked into their spot. But the Florida over 3.5 goals is plus 118. I think I would maybe take a shot on that. Samsonov is a good goalie, though. Do you have any thoughts on this?
Yeah, Steve. So my thought here is the way Florida's been playing, I know that this game probably means a little bit more to them. The Maple Leafs, they still want to get their points, too, because while they have clinched a playoff spot, you can pretty much guarantee now that the first-round matchup is going to be the Leafs and the Lightning. And it's going to come down to seeding. Who gets that home ice advantage? And I think the Leafs are going to want that. They got that record. They can't get out of the first round. So, They want to play in front of their fans, try and throw Tampa off their game, and that home ice in the playoffs, it can help. I don't want to say it makes all the difference, but it's definitely a help more than it hinders you. So I think the Maple Leafs are going to still want to get their, 2 points here, try and get that home ice advantage over top of Tampa. So I'm going to take them at -1.5 on the puck line at plus 150.
Nice. All right.
Just because of that, and I just can't trust the way Florida's been playing when they've had, when they've needed these important points to really put themselves, in front of Pittsburgh, which they've had multiple opportunities. Pittsburgh's not playing, great either. So they've had their chances, and they just have not been able to capitalize. So I'm not going to really trust them in what they're doing right now. They're going to go into Toronto, which can be a tough place to play as well. I think the Maple Leafs can certainly win by 2 or more here tonight.
And Dave, when you mentioned the word trust and Florida Panthers, in my mind, they do not go hand in hand. So all of that is definitely a valued argument. And that's why I won't take them to win, but I'll give them a shot to get at least 4 goals anyway. But yeah, a good goalie there for Toronto, and they are a really good team. This could be the year the Maple Leafs finally turn the page on their playoff woes. Let's see here. Yeah, here we go. Last game on the board. It's a good one in Colorado with the Minnesota Wild at the Colorado Avalanche. 10:05 start for this game. Colorado is -160. You're getting plus 130, 135 on Minnesota. Over under is 5.5 at -122. The goalies listed for this game right now are Philip Gustafsson and Alexander Georgiev. So good matchup in goalie tonight for both these teams. And both these teams, all the motivation in the world. This is a first place game here in the Western Conference Central Division. So, Dave, who do you like?
Steve, this is, like I said, this is probably the game of the evening, and I would definitely like to catch some of this one. Just as a pure fan of the sport itself, I'll be watching all the playoffs, even though my Caps won't be there. I love the sport itself. And so games like these are always worth, just watching a little bit of. It's sure to be entertaining. There's probably no doubt about that. But as far as anything here, Steve, I mean, this is tough. We could see a defensive struggle, which would play into the hands of the Wild, I think. I always think of the Wild kind of like the Western Conference Islanders, if that makes any sense, where they kind of play that same style. They don't score a whole lot of goals. I mean, sometimes they do, but it's just they're more defensive style teams, and they're pretty alike each other in that way. So that's what makes me kind of think of them like that. But like I said, Steve, we could see a very low-scoring game, or these two teams could turn it on each other and, an outburst for an 8-goal game. So, I don't know, Steve. This is going to have to be one that I really look over. I think if I go with anything, we go with the Minnesota team goals of over 2.5 at -135. If we're going to think that they jump all over each other, we might as well go with a Wild team total. They are leading that division, even if it's only by 1 point. Steve, tough game. Give me the over 2.5 for the Wild at -135.
Actually, Dave, I like that play the best, I think, out of that game. You're not asking them to win the game either, but you think that they can put out 3 goals of output anyway. I feel like their offense is a little bit sharper, too, now than what it's been for the majority of the season, being known as a defensive team. I feel like they're lighting up the lamp just a little bit more here lately. And yes, I think this game of 5.5 is definitely conducive to an over type of game. Just because of the talent alone on ice. But yeah, don't be shocked if it's a 2-1 physical battle, defensive masterpiece.
This one really could go either way, Steve. This is a really hard game to map out.
Yeah, so we have 3 interesting good ones. They all matter tonight. Dave, what are your official plays going to be?
All right, so official plays here, Steve. We're going to go with the Leafs -1.5. Capitals team total of over 2.5, and a Minnesota Wild team total for 2.5. And that's going to be a 3-pick parlay at +625. I don't think that's really asking too much. I think the kicker here is going to be what the Leafs are able to do at home. But, let's see. You put a $20 bill on that. It's about $1.50. But it's for not a lot of action tonight. I feel like, this is a $20, $25 parlay right here to make it worth your time.
Okay, and I think what I'll end up doing is I'll go ahead and trail you on a couple of these, and then I'll throw in my Florida team goal total play. And hopefully they'll not stink up the joint like everyone else trying to get ahead of things here. So I'll take a 3-game parlay with over Minnesota 2.5 goals. I'll take your Capitals over 2.5 goals, and I'll throw Florida over 3.5 goals each. Wow, in a game night where I like all the unders. I'm going to take 3 overs. So maybe I'll back that up. But if I do $20 on that, that's going to pay off $113. So, maybe we'll just chop that in half for $10 and just kind of try to root it home and not be too worried about it. If it loses, no need to get crazy on tonight's menu. I mean, this is basically like a playoff menu right here.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. All right. I think we discussed the futures good enough. We have a decent slate tomorrow night, Dave. Let's just talk about it real quick because we're going to be off tomorrow night, people, for opening day baseball. So we will not be on the air for that. So let's
the boys in the studio got to get a little baseball time in.
Yeah, so let's briefly go over some of the games here for tomorrow. We're not even going to talk point spreads, but we'll just give me your quick take on a few of these. Because on Thursday we have a hot slate. We're not going to worry about the Blue Jackets and Bruins. Panthers, Canadians, we won't care about. Rangers, Devils, any take on that tomorrow?
That should be a good one. I do believe those two teams just played not long ago. You got the over is set at 6.5. Rangers +110 on the money line. Devils -130. So I think if you're feeling one team more than the other, I think a 60-minute line is definitely in play for this. And if this number is set where it is, I think your team totals are probably in play as well here, Steve.
The Hurricanes are on the road in Detroit, so that would be basically a must-win. Red Wings, if they can put their same performance up last night against Pittsburgh, really give a chance to the Devils or the I got a stupid media player from this page playing in my earphones. Y'all don't hear that, but I do. Let's see here. Oh, yeah. So if the Red Wings can do any kind of output like they did last night against the Hurricanes, and a good chance for the winner of tonight's game with the Rangers and Devils to really close ground there. Let's see. Anything else we care about? Predators and Penguins will be an interesting game there, David, right?
Yeah, I think so. The both teams. Actually, you know what, Steve? Yes, that should be a really good game. Both teams really need those points.
Yes. Both wild card Western Conference and Eastern Conference game of importance there. Caps will be at the Lightning coming off the back-to-back. Maybe a good spot for the Lightning if the Capitals really get blown out tonight. They may really call it quits. Let's see here. Kings and the Oilers will be a good game in the Western Conference tomorrow night. Talk about that one real quick.
Yeah, so we got the line here is +135 on the money line for the Kings, -155 for the Oilers. I think if you're getting those numbers, maybe take a shot with the Kings. I think they're just as good as the Oilers. And look, if things end the way they are now, this will be the first round matchup. with the Kings having the home ice advantage at the moment. So the over-under is 7. I think that's probably definitely possible. The Kings have showed that they are able to score this year, and we know Edmonton is. So over 7 goals is at plus 100. I think that's a take there as well. But I don't know. I'm riding the Kings. That's probably going to be the team that I keep my eye on the most for the playoffs. I actually have them in a ticket to win the West at plus 900. So I'm going to be jumping on with the Kings here come the end of the season. So I'm going to give them a shot with that money line, but I think you can play it over here as well, Steve.
Yeah, and the Kings are 2-0 against the Oilers this year, and they own them in the playoffs too, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Okay, so that'll do it for that. Vegas will be in action late tomorrow night as well. Their game should be winnable for them. Who is it again? It's Anaheim, I think. Is that who it is?
San Jose.
San Jose, yes. The Ducks are at the Kraken. Other games to note: Blues and Blackhawks. And anything else?
Steve, you called that game, by the way, last night with the Jets and the Sharks. The Sharks actually shut them out 3-0, and you said if there's going to be a team to blow that, it's going to be the Jets, and you were spot on with it.
Yeah, well, the trend should have been across the board with like the Penguins, the Hurricanes. We should count on everyone needing a must-win not to win last night. That's the way we needed to go. Let's see. Flyers and Senators. That'll be a big game for Senators tomorrow night. Panthers, Canadians, Blue Jackets, Bruins, all other Thursday night action. Opening day baseball tomorrow. So good luck with that, everyone. If I have any tip for everyone out there, go ahead and look at your weather forecast. If it looks like it's cold and nasty, miserable days, go ahead and bet all your unders for the first 5 innings with the starting pitchers before they get yanked. And what will certainly be short starts for most everyone with the new pitching outlook of the 2000s where starters don't pitch into the 8th inning. Best be assured that load management with starting pitchers starts tomorrow in Major League Baseball. Final Four stuff coming up this weekend as well. So good luck, everyone, in that. I have a nice ticket on Miami. We'll be trying to root that home. I hear a lot of UConn talk out there, and rightfully so. And I'm hoping that's the good old. I'm hearing nothing about Miami scenario that's going to come back and haunt everyone who has UConn for that. Big weekend in soccer as well. I have some takes on that Friday, 4:20 Eastern Standard Time here on the Deep End Broadcasting Network. We will have the Friday soccer paycheck. Let's go with a couple of the usual suspects this weekend, Dave, and try to put some goals in the back of the net there. So that's it. Friday soccer paycheck Friday. No hockey show tomorrow night for baseball. And we just gave you a preview of basically tonight and a little bit of tomorrow. If you're just tuning in, go ahead and click the replay, deepend757.com. All right, Dave, good luck on your plays, and we will talk to you next time.
Yes, sir. You as well. And I will see you tomorrow for some baseball. Very excited.
Yep. All right, everyone. I'll talk to you Friday for the paycheck. And if you're tuning out of that, then go ahead and have a good weekend. Actually, we got the rugby show tonight as well live. So if you need your Major League Rugby action, Phil, go ahead and tune into that. All right, Dave, we're out of here. Take it easy, man.
All right, you too.